And I became friends with a local tattoo artist, and I wasn't really doing anything with art or with film, which is what my degree is in. And he was trying to do low budget movies just on the side. He was really interested in filmmaking, and so we kind of struck up an informal quid pro quo where I would kind of go over his screenwriting stuff and give him notes on screenwriting, and he would teach me a little bit about tattooing. It wasn't a formal apprenticeship at that point, but it evolved into a more formal apprenticeship pretty quickly thereafter. And so I spent a couple of years hanging out at the shop, learning the trade. I still thought that I might do something with film at that point. I didn't really think that tattooing was going to be anything other than like a creative day job that I could do while trying to do something with film. And after about a year or so of apprenticing, I realized that you couldn't really be a dilettante at tattooing. You had to really commit to it to become proficient at it. And at that point, I had fallen in love with the tradition and culture of traditional Americana tattooing, and had that crossroads moment where I decided this is what I'm going to do. And I didn't really look back after that. It's been a real blessing to be able to do this for a living.
That's great. That is great. We do have a couple of questions in the chat. So from Amy Kirchner, in your opinion, how did tattoos get so popular?
2 words, Miami Ink. You know, the reality TV really kind of tore the lid off of the industry in a lot of ways, good, bad, and otherwise. A lot of people saw that show and thought, well, I can draw, and started kind of flooding the industry. And so, you know, you see, I mean, there's shops everywhere now. Every small town has a shop, at least one. Houston has hundreds of shops. And I think, you know, you really saw that boom happen in conjunction with, you know, the reality TV and with the media coverage. Social media has helped too, you know, having something like Instagram. That's been a real boon for the popularity of tattooing. Being able to see something in, you know, real time is helpful. It's helpful for industry professionals to be able to get their work out in a much larger way than it ever been possible. So, yeah,
that's
the TV
great.
bit, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Carlin is asking, do you do piercings also? Someone told me they are getting their kids' ears pierced at some tattoo parlors because they do it more safely and professionally versus the big box stores in the mall.
That's for real. Yeah, that's the truth. Piercers have to be licensed just like tattoo shops. They undergo a lot of rigorous training. We don't employ a piercer here at this shop, just simply because we focus mainly on the tattoos. But I would highly recommend, you know, there are several tattoo shops that do employ piercers. And if I were going to get either of our girls' ears pierced, I would have them go through a professional piercer and not something like Claire's at the mall, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Alan is asking, my older kids asked me recently, is there anything that is like a tattoo that lasts a few months up to a year?
So there are some companies now out that do some temporary tattoos that are a little more ornate and kind of a little more tattooy than what you would see like in the Cracker Jack box. There's a company called Tattly, and I've seen their products at Texas Art at the checkout stand, and they're like tattoos. They're designed by tattooers, and so the designs are a little more authentic. And I'm not sure how long they last. I mean, I think they're like a temporary tattoo. They probably last a couple of weeks. And then there's also, so some people are really into the henna Mendi designs. And I'm not sure how long those last, but those are applied, you know, they're not like a temporary tattoo in the sense of just sticking it on. Those take time. The person's literally painting on the skin. So there's kind of like a time thing. It takes a while to put it on.
Richard is asking, noticing the background, and Sarah, hello, Sarah. So you're in your studio. Could we get a quick tour? Like, is that possible with your camera to sort of show us around a little bit?
Here, let me show you. We'll do a little quick. So we're in kind of like the main tattoo area here, and we have 4 artist stations. And so, you know, we've got this, you know, that's what a typical station looks like. And then this is not, the grand tour is not so grand because it's not a huge studio. We also have somebody that does tooth gems and a person that does cosmetic tattooing in this annex area here. And we'll turn the light on there. So that's Harley Phoenix and Melody stations there. All the stations look the same, because my designer wife was really great at making this space look nicer than what you would say an average tattoo shop looks like. So, and then the back of the house is, we have a lavatory and, nothing really exciting back there. So sterile area, that kind of stuff.
All right, a few more questions here. General pricing on tattoos, like, can you give us a ballpark on?
Yeah, so in the Houston market, what you'll find is that the shop minimums range from like $60 to $100 for the smallest basic tattoo, and then from there it can range widely based on the tattoo artist's expertise and how long they've been working and the area that they're tattooing at, just geographically. So just for our shop, like I said, our shop minimum is $100 and our hourly rate ranges around $180 an hour for custom work. Smaller tattoos, one-shot tattoos, we price those by the piece, just depending on scale, complexity, and location of the tattoo.
A question from Jesse, do you do white tattoos? I remember a friend who had one and said it would fade away completely after a couple of years. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, so, white tattoos, we don't encourage getting them just simply because of the longevity of the imagery. All of our inks have a certain amount of translucent, property to them. So what happens is they're going to refract your pigmentation underneath, and white is the most refractive of the inks that we have. So it's going to show up better on pale skin, but it is going to fade faster than anything else. So most artists typically won't do white only, just simply because it's you're not really getting what you're paying for. You're going to have to get it touched up pretty frequently and pay for the touch up every time. So I discourage it. I use white pretty sparingly. I use it for like highlights and black and gray work, really small areas that are going to be surrounded by other pigments to where it really kind of stays in there and is vibrant over time.
So Ben is asking, everybody's obsessed with technology these days. How do you see tech advancements changing the tattoo industry over time? New inks, faster processes for whole sleeves, augmented reality, moving tattoos. Oh, that's fascinating. So tech and tattoos, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to see more of what we've already started to see. I mean, definitely social media has changed a lot in the sense of just getting imagery out there. Also, I see a lot of younger tattooers using their iPads and using apps to pre-visualize work or draw work. And so that's making the production side of tattooing much faster as opposed to the analog process. I'm kind of a Luddite. If you look at the video, you see I do a little bit of my work just hand drawn, and then I take that in and use a computer. But that process is, sped up my productivity quite a bit. As far as the mechanics of applying a tattoo, you see small things changing in the way that the machines are put together. There's wireless machines now, stuff like that. There's battery-powered power supplies where you're not tied down to being at a power source anymore. So, little things like that. But the basic mechanics of a tattoo machine have remained relatively consistent since the 1950s. And I'm not sure that will change. It's kind of one of those, if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of things. And there's a lot of guys like me that kind of love the old feel of a tattoo machine and the way that it works. So, but I think especially for the younger tattooers, using apps and just from the productivity side and from the creative side, being able to, make their drawing faster is going to change a lot.
Yeah. We've had a couple of questions about what is cosmetic tattoos.
So Harley's doing, a lot of stuff that she does is doing eyebrow work. She does permanent freckles as well. She does like permanent lip liner, stuff like that. I think the eyebrow thing is the most popular of her products. So yeah, that's the majority of what she does.
Okay, and one last question from Allison, and I kind of have the same question. So do you ever have a sense that someone will regret a design that they have chosen? And if so, how do you work with them to get a positive outcome?
Yeah, that's, you know, that's certainly part of the craft of tattooing outside of just the technical application of a tattoo is, you know, learning how to work with clients and learning how to steer them away from things that might be regrettable. I mean, you know, there's certain subject matter that we just simply won't tattoo, but then when you come into more subtle things like, you know, a partner's name and stuff like that, you know, at the end of the day, it is that person's decision. But as a professional, I certainly try to steer people toward doing something maybe that's not so literal, that might be more representative, so that you're not walking around with, say, somebody's name, right?
Yeah. Okay, so I said that was awesome. Just a couple more quick ones here. What is the legal age to get a tattoo, and what age will you let your kids get tattoos, if you're willing to share that?
Okay. Well, so in the state of Texas, for tattooing, the legal age ranges just, you know, by state. And so in the state of Texas, the legal age to get tattooed is 18. You have to have a government issued ID with your photo and date of birth on it. We get calls all the time where parents with minors are asking to do like an affidavit or a waiver or whatnot. And Texas does not allow for parental consent for tattooing. They do for piercing, but not tattooing. So you got to be 18. You got to have a state ID.
Excellent. Okay, and this really is the last question. What is the strangest tattoo that you've been asked to do?
I can't say that that story in mixed company. However, I will say one of the curiousest tattoos. I had a guy come in when I was working in Montrose neighborhood, and he literally wanted a bow tie tattooed right here. And so, yeah. And so I tattooed a bow tie on him. And so he's dressed to the nines.
Yeah. Efficiency. Right. Well, Gabriel, thank you so much. That was truly just fascinating, entertaining, and informative, and I love that. So I really thank you so much. And Sarah, thank you for joining him. I know, as you mentioned, this is your first actual date night since COVID. Is that what it is? Like, it's just the two of you, no kids?
Yeah, it's been a year.
Yeah, it's been a year.
The pleasure is ours.
Yeah, well, and that you chose to spend it with us just warms my heart. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.